order. Vice Mayor, council, members of staff, members of the public, always a pleasure to see you. Thank you so much for coming. And Russ, will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Doug McKay.
Here.
Councilmember Freddie Fisickelli.
Here.
Councilmember Steve Breakers.
Here.
Vice Mayor Gary Jablonski.
Here.
Mayor Jeff Nelson.
Here, can we all stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, again, good evening to everybody. Item number 3, and I can handle item number 3, which is a proclamation for Water Conservation Month. And this is very special because it deals with December. And at the time, I'm going to read the proclamation December, but at the time of this meeting, we want to make it very, very special for you, and it wasn't ready. So for that, I apologize. So accept our apology. But I want to again, recognize all that you do and the wonderful things you do on behalf of the town. And we know water matters here in the town of Southwest Ranches and appreciate your commitment. But the proclamation is, whereas water is a basic and essential need for every living creature, and whereas the state of Florida water management districts and the town of Southwest Ranches are working together to increase awareness about the importance of water conservation, and whereas April, typically a dry month when water demands are highest, is annually designated as Water Conservation Month to educate citizens about how they can help save Florida's precious water resources. And whereas the town of Southwest Ranches encourages and supports water conservation through various educational programs and special events, and whereas every resident's business and industry can make a difference and help by efficiently using water, thus promoting a healthy and sustainable community, and whereas the town council calls upon each resident and business in the town of Southwest Ranches to help protect our precious resource by practicing water-saving measures and becoming more aware of the need to conserve water. Now, therefore, be claimed by the town of Southwest, by the town council of the town of Southwest Ranches that the month of April 2014 shall be recognized as Water Conservation Month in the town of Southwest Ranches, dated this 10th day of April 2014. And December, congratulations. Thank you. I promise you it's a special proclamation. And again, thank you for all your efforts, your commitment. We do a great job on our behalf every day. Okay. Item number 4, we have a special presentation. Richard, is it Hughes? Did I pronounce that correctly? And Richard has a project that we are so thankful and appreciative. And it's essentially a project where he's going to build a horse corral. And the horse corral, about 16 by 16 square foot, it's going to be located in Fishing Hole Park. And we're just thrilled that you've made this commitment. I know you're going to do a great job on behalf of the town of Southwest Ranches, and I'm going to turn the floor over to you for your presentation. And welcome to the town of Southwest Ranches. Great to have you.
Thank you very much. For the first part, the reason why I got this idea was I looked in the front, and I thought that was a perfect idea, and then Miss December told me that they needed another one at the Fishing Hole Park, and it's right next to my house, so it's easy to get to, and I can go there whenever I want. I noticed that the posts out by the front are 4x4s. What I was going to do, I was going to switch them to 6x6s, make them a little more sturdy. Those are 1x6 slats out in the front, and I was going to put 2x6s. And I was going to use screws, stainless steel screws, so they won't break, and a 6-foot galvanized fence. And hopefully this will last a lot longer. I wrote down the estimated cost of the project, roughly around $561.97. So that's not too bad for an Eagle Scout project.
We got to ask Mom and Dad about that.
Yeah. And I drew some drawings. Doesn't look too proportional, but try my best. And it should, from like a side bird's eye view, show you what it should look like when I'm finished with it. Oh, they have a copy. And that's about it for my project. And thank you for your time for listening to me very much.
And Richard, we know that you made a presentation before the Recreation, Forestry, and Natural Resource Advisory Board, and they wholeheartedly endorsed your project as well. So we can't thank you enough. We look forward to this corral, and I'm sure it's going to be used on a regular basis. I know if it was up to Freddie, it'd be used all the time, because I know how hard Freddie's working out there to bring that park to fruition. And this is another step in that process. And we appreciate you stepping forward, Richard, and doing this on our behalf. And as part of your process to construct it, let us know. You have so many people that are always here available and ready to pitch in at a moment's notice. And thank you on behalf of the town of Southwest Ranches. Thank you, and I suspect we'll have a subsequent conversation as we move forward with your project.
Thank you very much.
Very nice to meet you.
Ricky,
Hold up, don't go
Ricky.
anywhere.
here's $50 towards your project.
I'm not going to break tradition. I've assisted every one of these guys that have come forward to their projects to contribute $100, but I'll leave it at the front desk and they'll call you to come get it. So I'll donate $100 towards your project.
And
you very
Richard,
much.
I'll throw in another 52, and I'll leave it with Mr. Burns. And
Pleasure.
And we have another gentleman there in the back that's committed to funding the balance of the project. I think it's $256. So make sure you get his address and telephone number.
Good luck, Ricky.
But thank you, good luck.
you very much.
We'll be in touch,
Hey,
Richard.
Richard.
Thanks, buddy.
Richard, is your dad David Hughes?
Yes, sir.
All right, you tell David I said
That
hi.
helps?
Yeah, no, yeah, it always helps. He's a good guy. He's a great guy. He should tell him he needs to come here the next time.
Will do. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Richard.
Mayor, if I may?
Absolutely, Gary.
Just by weight of reference, Richard worked on my son's Eagle project when he was a new scout, 5 years ago. So just
Great.
what goes around comes
It's
around.
amazing.
I just would like to make you aware of the fact that there is a grant for that particular thing, that project that he just said he was going to do. And so that grant is enough to cover it. And so with your donations, maybe he can do a little bit more.
Fantastic, Gay. Thank you, appreciate that.
Make sure he's aware of it.
Absolutely, yeah. Maybe you want to have a conversation with him, Gay,
Gay?
to let
Yeah,
him know
make sure
about
you have a conversation. He's
with
aware of it.
Richard. That would be great. That would be great. Okay, item number 5. Andy?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I wanted to give you all an update on the strategic planning process and where we are. As you know, we had our consultant Leslie Leap was here last month and presented the survey results. And we did very well, but the next question becomes, what do we do with that? And where do we go from there? And so I wanted to share that information with you all tonight. And I'll start off and say the first question is, why do you survey the community? And it's really for 3 reasons. One is we want to make sure that we understand the needs and the desires of the community, that we're in tune with that. It's something that we can then use as, Russell, click. It's
Outreach.
dead. Yeah, there we go. So it's something that we will use as an aid in strategic planning and in the budgeting process. And probably equally important to that is it helps us identify what I call OFIs, opportunities for improvement. So we look at that results, and so we work from that, because even though those results were good, we want to be better. We also did an analysis of the organization's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and challenges. It's known as a SWOT, or some people call it a SWOT analysis. And we did separate ones. We did staff compiled their own analysis, council members contributed to one, and advisory board members were brought together for a third meeting, so that we did our best to really get all different perspectives. And that information will also be used as we go forward with this process. So staff is currently working on the strategic planning process, and what I wanted to do tonight was really just give you an update on where we are, where we're headed with this process. The most important thing is once staff gets this complete, and I use the word completed in the PowerPoint, but obviously when staff gets it completed, it's not completed. I can't stress enough that will come back to council for your input, changes that you may have, and ultimately for adoption. And that plan, once we have it, that becomes our guideline and our roadmap as we go forward. One thing I do really want to stress, and this came through loud and clear on our survey results, and while I don't necessarily want to read you the slide, I do want to read you this line because it really is important. And I'll tell you that as we plan for the future, our goals will be built around maintaining our rural lifestyle, improving our roads, and doing so in a fiscally responsible manner. And if you go back to the survey results, you'll see that 4 people out of 5 moved to Southwest Ranches in the first place because of the rural lifestyle, and 3 out of 4 on the survey felt it should be our highest priority to maintain that going forward. So our goals going forward will be built around 5 different areas: sound governance, enhanced resource management, reliable public safety, improving our infrastructure, and cultivating a vibrant community. Those goals, once developed, they really don't stand alone, and what you do from those goals, once you establish those clear goals, you establish objectives. How are we going to get where we need to get? How do we reach those goals? So staff will outline for you, certainly for your consideration, very clear objectives of how we're going to go about achieving our goals, and then underneath those objectives, we'll have performance measures. So we'll track our results of our efforts, make sure that what we're doing is in alignment and that we're headed in the right direction. And the goal at the end of the day is to make Southwest Ranches an even better place than it is today, with all of us pulling in the same direction. And I kind of like that because I feel like sometimes we run around here chasing our tails. I think we do, generally speaking, an excellent job in serving this community. But the strategic planning process is about bringing all that into alignment, making sure that all of us are working together, we're all pulling in the same direction, we're all working towards the same goals. You know, town motto has been established before, is preserving our rural lifestyle. The mission statement of really what are we here to do is we're committed to promoting the rural lifestyle of the residents while preserving the natural environment. We're also experimenting with kind of a vision statement of kind of where do we see ourselves and where are we going in the future. And this is, as you can tell from this slide, I will tell you, is in development. It's really not up for discussion tonight. However, if you have input, certainly welcome to, to provide that to us as we fabricate this. But, we recognize that Southwest Ranches is really a special place. When you look at Broward County, you look at the community here, and even certainly the greater South Florida area. We have any world-class amenity you could possibly want within driving distance, and yet at the same time, you come home to Southwest Ranches, you get away from that, you get to turn that off, you come home to that rural, quiet, not a lot of street lights, bright stars, quiet, open space community. And so we feel, from a staff standpoint, obviously we're working on this and we'll get additional input, but we recognize how important that is and how special that is, and we really want to promote that and make that kind of our guiding point of where we're going to. And I have one more slide for you. We've accomplished a lot, certainly in the time I've been here, and the town has. This slide is something that I'll tell you I take a great deal of pride in, and not because of anything that I did. This was an outgrowth of the staff's effort, getting together, working on the SWOT analysis. Staff also worked on our value statements. What was important to us? What would guide the staff and how we go about performing the daily duties of the town and fulfilling our responsibilities? And so I proudly tell you that every single staff member was involved in producing this statement, and they've all voted unanimously, and you'll see it in different places. If you go back to your offices, you'll see December has it on the wall outside her door. It's outside, the exit to the staff offices. It's something that we're committed to living and breathing, and it wasn't something that came from top down. This is something that came from ground up and came up through the staff. And that's really all I have for you, Mayor. I just wanted to kind of give you an update of where we are in this process, where we're going with it, that it didn't end with the community survey, that information will be used for us, as we go forward and plan for the future.
Thank you, Andy. Appreciate the time and appreciate the presentation. Any comments, council? A lot of good information that we got from that survey. A lot of positive comments from our residents. It's very interesting that the residents would say that the most important part of living here is to maintain this rural lifestyle. I thought that that was very, very interesting. Not surprising, but very interesting. But it was a confirmation things are going well, and they appreciate what's going on here in the town of Southwest Ranches and the services that are being provided. Really good stuff, really good stuff. Okay, that concludes item number 5. Item number 6, public comment. Russell?
And speed it up. 3 minutes to speak on non-agenda items. Any more cards? 2 final ones. This is 6, and Hollingsworth is 7. All right, first speaker, Vince Valletta, followed by Jim Lasky, followed by Mike Hanley.
Vince Valletta. My address is on record. I'm representing Sunshine Ranches Drainage Committee. Mr. Mayor, Council, we're doing a great injustice to our citizens because this administration is permitting overfilling of the land. I called last week, and they said they were going to cite them and stop work order. Now I called them this morning, and they said, well, they can't because that's all they're doing is replenishing a ring. They're filling up all of the FP&L easement. They tell me, well, FP&L complained. FP&L not complained as long as you don't put a building on their easement. And what we're doing is he's elevating his land without any plans, and it's moving, displacing the water on his neighbor. And his neighbor is taking the brunt of his filling, and we are permitting it. And you know, we always say, well, we're always looking out for our citizens. We're not looking out for our citizens because Mr. Gomez is getting flooded by the neighbor to the east of him by filling up his land. And the comment I get from Brook Code is that, well, he's only replenishing a horse ring. Well, I didn't know that sand evaporated. And he's replenishing a horse ring. So he's still elevating his land, and you're permitting it. This administration is permitting it. And in other instances, we had a lady that was draining her detention area, and she dumped the water over on the canal bank, washed away the canal bank a year ago, and we still didn't do anything about it. And the canal bank is our responsibility because it's in our right-of-way. And we didn't do a damn thing about it. That Appaloosa canal bank is still eroded. And one of these days, you're going to pay for it in road damage. And this is also occurring in other areas between the canal banks and permitting excessive filling. And like I say, you're displacing the water. Every inch of sand that you put in on your property, that's another inch of water that you're putting on your neighbor's property. And I think this has to stop. You know, you could look at it as well. Well, he has to do something for his business. Well, his business is not to impose a hardship on his neighbors. And anyway, Central Broward has a criteria. If you're going to elevate your land, you have to have a plan, you have to have a berm. He does not have a berm in order to retain his own water. And again, we are permitting it. You, and you are permitting it by allowing this to happen. And code enforcement does nothing, absolutely nothing. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Jim Lasky, followed by Mike Hanley, followed by Edward Gomez? Eduardo.
Hello, Jim Lasky, 5780 Southwest 188th Avenue. And as you know, for the last probably month and a half, I've been working on this idea of a Tiger grant in Southwest Ranches. So you have a problem. You can't come up with $10 million for expenses to minimize the grant. You know, everything you look and you read about this town with rural, allows you to get confused when you read a grant application that says there's special conditions for a rural community. All those 100% financing on a rural community, and I think the minimum grant drops down some. So, you know, it's understandable, but if you still look at it, if you get a $10 million improvement because now you maybe put some nice looking LED lights along the side of the road, a really fancy, maybe multi-use work trail, a real fancy horse trail, okay, that's advertising for you guys. People going to, yeah, they're going to drive from Pembroke Pines, right, to go to Weston or go to Everglades Holiday Park, and they're going to see some pretty talented horse riders going up and down the side of that horse trail. And you know what a kid does in the back of a car when he lives in a city? I was once one. I lived in Coral Gables, and every time my parents used to tell me that we're going to go see this guy named Wally, a contractor that lives where Miami-Dade Junior College is now, and ride his horses. I mean, it was like the biggest thing, and then along came the fishing boat. But it still was a big deal, and I really think that it'd be a valuable sales tool for you. It'd make people on both sides you happy. The animosity maybe might drop down a little bit. And all I got to do is just get allowed to talk to a few more people, and maybe we could drum up some commitments to help. They wouldn't have to explain it to a voter. It's not their money. It's the federal government's money. I heard somebody say in this room one night it was never important about the money because it was government money, federal government money. So why can't we use the same analogy to maybe enhance Griffin Road, widen that out? I mean, we're getting a $40 million school, and we're complaining about the traffic, it seems, for the most part. And maybe do a little work on the bridges across the street over here on Griffin Avenue. Everything you do to facilitate those roads, Griffin Road and Sheridan Road, is going to help the inner roads. The traffic engineer said that at the last meeting. So that's what I'm looking at here, and to me, the 80-20, if it is 20, okay, a lot of that 20 can be made up on both ends of that road, 184. There's a vacant piece of land at the Sheridan side, a vacant piece of land that's getting developed now, and what's in the middle, I don't know, because nobody's telling me. I asked to know about the easements that were involved. So anyway, maybe we could, in the future, work a little more towards this goal. It's just, to me, it's simple. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Hanley, Edward Gomez, Barry Nunzig, Gay Chapels, and Newell Hollingsworth.
Mike Hanley, 50th Place, Southwest Ranches, Florida. Excuse me. I just wanted to address a little bit of a safety issue. Purportedly, those gates on 205, 202, 99 were put in to allow us to have more safety in our area. Just recently, another woman was T-boned on 27. You all know about the previous lady that was taking her child, or going home from school to take her child to Cyprus, and she was killed out there. 27 is not called Bloody 27 for no reason. We have an issue. I can't get south unless I go to 27 or come all the way into 172nd or 188. Country Estates Homeowner Association is trying to get a project launched where they can alleviate the traffic in that area. I would like to see us either expand or listen to Mr. Lasky along with the city manager and the city council and produce a 184 to allow us to go south and north through our city. Secondly, if you can't do that, why don't we pave 210 Terrace or cease the litigation with Pembroke Pines? That road that they just built, whether it's 207 Terrace or 208, I don't know what the name of it is, but it's now summarily blocked on both ends. And that's supposed to be the egress for the charter school, if it happens. So why don't we allow our citizens to go north and south without forcing them out into a danger zone of I-75 and US 27? That's my goal. I like rural lifestyle, but I don't want to be killed because I can't get south on my own street. So let's try and get the city council to go along with people that are involved, like Mr. Lasky, and get some progress going on opening up our city so we can go north and south and not be stymied. I used to be able to go north and south to the post office, to the grocery store, et cetera, to the veterinarians I had down there. But I can't now unless I go all the way out to US 27. Gas is increasing in prices. Mileage is increasing for me just to go do my normal daily routines. That shouldn't be, gentlemen. That shouldn't be. Let's make it easier on our citizens. Being rural doesn't mean you have to be isolated and be a hermit in your own property. You ought to be able to get to the doctor, to the store, to the post office, to your vet, to your schools, and to your church. I wish you would help us solve this problem.
Edward Gomez, Bernyunzig, Gay Chapels, and Newell Hogsworth.
My name is Ed Gomez. I live at 6601. I live at 6601 Holiday Trail, Southwest Ranches. The situation we're confronting now, this happened to me before. I used to live in 134 Blue Railroad. The neighbors start to do a lot of filling, sometimes without the permits. And they put sometimes more than 20 truckloads of fill, white fill, line fill, in their property. When they do that, they bring the level about 3 or 4 inches. Those 3 or 4 inches, their water runs into our property. The property I had before, when it rained, I used to have about 1.5 feet of water in my property. Ruth had the same problem. We were neighbors. Now, I moved to this property. When I moved originally, it was about 6.3 elevation on the side, on the other sides. A year ago, they put about 2 inches. It went to the same level where I am right now. Now they bring more truckloads, more than 30 truckloads, and they're putting more fill into that property. That means they're going to be about 4 to 6 inches higher than my property. Every time they do that, when it rains, that white fill goes into my property and goes into the canal. If they're going to do that, they should have some kind of wall retainer or something to eliminate this kind of a problem. It's not my problem. It's a problem they're creating for the water management and for the canals. You can see the white powder going to the canal. And Vincent once went to see those people, the people that used to own that before, and told it to stop doing that because they were putting some kind of a track to move their water into the canal. And this is what happened. A lot of people here, they are doing illegal fill without permits, and nobody knows about it. I called twice the inspector, the code enforcement. He never showed up. I called twice and look, this is what happened. He never called back. It's some kind of a, I don't know, I don't understand what is going on, but it's affecting the neighbors. Like right now, when they finish the field, it's going to create a problem in my property and in the canal. Somebody should go there and see what is happening. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Barry's first, then you, and then Newell.
Good evening. My name is Barry Nunzig. I live at 16300 Sterling Road, and I am also on your fire advisory board. The reason I'm here tonight is because a couple of phone calls saying that there was some information given to the board that I may want to look at and see if I needed to be corrected a little bit. As you know, last month you guys got the report back from the fire people, and we got it the night before you guys got it. We did not get a chance to look at it, really, so we did not take any action on it. There was nothing on the fire advisory board to make any recommendation for anybody to come here and speak before you. I found out, I was told that the volunteer fire chief and assistant fire chief and Jeff Kastner came here and made statements about the fire department. Nobody else on the fire advisory board was aware that any of those people were going to speak to you. I got a copy of the commission meeting so I could see what happened, and I noticed during Chief Bennett's remarks that he said that when Davie Fire goes out of 172nd, that they're the only people left in the city, and that's just not correct. As you know, the town of Davie supplies us. They have 3 stations in this town. One of them's located at 172nd and Griffin Road. One's at 6101 Southwest 148, or Volunteer Road, in Sterling. And the other one's 3600 Flamingo Road, in Davie. Those are the three stations. They all have a pumper and they all have a rescue. So if all of that equipment out at 172nd was to be in service on a call, we do not have a problem with units being moved up over to the side of town. Furthermore, this is information, and you guys will be getting more of this information. Packet's going to be made for you, from Chief Bennett on some of the questions I asked him a while back. And he wrote in here that we participate in the Broward County Mutual Aid Agreement. With the Broward County Mutual Aid Agreement, if at any time that Davie is so overwhelmed, you have Broward County Fire Station 55 at 3955 Bonaventure Boulevard, Station 67 at 951 Saddle Club Road in Weston, Station 81 at 17350 Arvada Parkway. You also have Pembroke Pines Fire Stations, Station 79 at 19999 Pines Boulevard, Station 99 at 16999 Pines Boulevard, which really isn't that far a drive, and Station 101 at 6057 Southwest 198 Terrace. So just so you guys know, there's plenty of fire service that's available if we have any type of situation in this town. Okay, you don't have to worry about the volunteers being the last guys standing because we have mutual aid agreements and we have plenty of people around that can service what we're going to do. And you'll be getting more information from the Fire Advisory Board as I get it together. I'm going to be making a package up for you guys and for the Fire Advisory Board. And I'm speaking here on my own tonight. The members of the Fire Advisory Board do not know I'm here. I came here because I think you needed to have this information and not have the thought that the volunteers, if they're out, that there's nothing there, or that if Davie's out of 72, there's nothing there. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry.
Mary Gay Chapels. It was discussed about the death on 27. There was a pedestrian hit on 27. He walked across the street, the highway. 207, where the school, which is not our school, it's Pembroke Pines' school, and I've seen the layout. All the lights are going to be on for their ball field and everything are going to be on Southwest Ranches and not down on the other end. The other thing is that I'm amazed that the county will not address, they certainly would address it if it were a church or a private school, religious school. They would make them contribute to expanding the road to be impacted by the traffic. That doesn't seem to be happening. I guess their attitude is it's our problem. That road is going to have to be 4-laned all the way out to 27. Otherwise, it's going to be a mess, a nightmare. And I personally, if I lived in that area, would not want to even attempt to go through that school, even if they allowed it open, and go through that development behind it in order to get south. As far as 210 is concerned, we are working on that. Of course, our funding is very limited, and so therefore, I think they have a dirt road right now. 208 doesn't go through. So that leaves 210 in order for them to do it. Now, I did talk to the gentleman that was referring to this Tiger Grant and told him that Ken Semena, several years ago when they wanted to do 184th, we had worked, him and I had pulled up a lot of the easements that don't exist and so on and came up with a drawing. I talked to Ken tonight, and he said that Saturday him and I are going to go dig through everything and find it. And we'll give a copy to the town administrator, and we'll give a copy to the gentleman. It was the canal, a berm, 2 lanes, a berm, and a I want to say turnaround. Yeah, a roundabout at Sterling, because that's about halfway, and you have to slow the traffic down that's coming through. Unfortunately, the prices we've heard are anywhere from 6 million, depending on landscaping and so on and so forth, to 10. So we will have that available for you probably by Monday, and you'll be able to take a look at it. I would think some of you would have seen it when we were working on it about when the panic hit. What was it, 5 or 6 years ago?
About 6 years ago.
Yeah, so he's trying to pull it up through his computers. And the other thing is, I yelled out to you that it was the Fishing Hole Park. That is the name on all the grants. The Parks Board had a meeting. It was presented to us by a resident of Country Estates. They want to eliminate Fishing Hole from Country Estates, Fishing Hole Park, and just have Country Estates Park. They pretty much unanimously, there were 2 dissenting votes, but as far as the paperwork is concerned, I was told by Gary that it was legal for us to do it that way, and we just keep the paperwork with the fishing hole. But it still will be a fishing hole because we're going to have a pier and a pond, and they will be stocked with fish. So it will be fishing hole. Thank you.
Newell Hollingsworth, 199th Avenue. As far as 184th Avenue, as long as this council and this town does not put 1 penny towards it, anything can happen. 184th will have no benefit whatsoever to the residents overall of Southwest Ranches. It will be detrimental to those that live on either side of it, because it'll be a high-speed, 2-lane, single entrance, single exit road, 2-way. Also, if you plan to put any money towards it, you're going to have to change the comprehensive plan, because you've already voted on that. So, if you want to talk about it, go ahead. But don't put any money towards it. Not 1 penny until you make some changes legally. Now, as to the good parts. Country Estates is a development between 186th and 188th. And that is the size of it. The Homeowners Association's real name is the Griffin Road Association, a.k.a. doing business as Country Estates Association. The park is not in Country Estates development. The Country Estates Association represents only those members of that association. They do not represent the entire area west of Rolling Oaks. They do not represent me. I will not have them saying they represent me. And there are many of us who feel the exact same way. So when they stand up and say, I am from Country Estates Homeowners Association, and we believe they are only talking about a minuscule membership that they have, instead of the vast majority of individuals that live between west of Rolling Oaks to US 27. There's also other homeowners associations within there. So do not believe for one moment that they speak for the community. They only speak for their membership. May I have a couple more minutes, Mr. Mayor?
We've got to finish it up, though.
Okay.
We've always said it. Finish it up.
When we were talking about the rural lifestyle of this town, this is what I originally was going to talk about. Last couple of days, I've been back and forth on the phone with Hallandale Politics, because one of their commissioners has resigned. And the back and forth as to who's going to replace that individual. And because I am friends with one that's down there that will be running, they asked me to convince him to run, and which I put my 2 cents worth in. Whether that counted or not, I don't know. But it came to me that the commissioners there don't have roots in their community. Everyone that sits up on this council has very deep roots in our community. And the point is, I realize this also because one of our consultants is moving back into Southwest Ranches. And there's other people that I know whose children have moved back into Southwest Ranches because they found that this is the best place there is to be. And I'm very happy that that is happening. And there's more and more children of our children coming back. And it's something that doesn't happen very often in a community where you see the people returning after going away, going to school, getting jobs somewhere else, working in another city, another area, and come back and say, you know, where I grew up was the best place of all. And I think that's why we all moved out here to begin with, for that lifestyle. And that is why when you see the survey and you see 75% say maintain our rural lifestyle, but make our roads a little bit better, pave a little bit more. That is where we're at, and that is who we are. And I'm very proud to call this community mine. And my community and my neighborhood goes from Flamingo Road all the way to US 27, and I'm happy to say that. Thank you.
Is it all the public? Yep. Okay, that concludes public comments. Item number 7, board reports. Any board members have any information?
Go ahead and recommend it.
Oh.
I'm talking to Bob.
Okay. Yes, we signed the contract, and the company went for a demolition permit, so I have a bet on this, that we're going to be done by September. So you know who's going to have her foot in somebody's back out there. I don't want to lose the bet. But they're going to start right away, and that's great. As far as the renaming of the fishing hole, I have to get used to that because I cut everything short and I call it the Fishing Hole Park. Freddie has been on that thing since the beginning, and it's coming along, and hopefully we'll have the play area done, the ball field, and they're working slowly on clearing the area in the back. So that'll be a slow process, but the front should be pretty much usable and done, hopefully by September, we hope. And then we're going to start on, we have a grant to start on the parks that we moved to the top that have not had anything done. And the grant is for a play area. And we don't have any money. I made that, again, I asked him, was he going to give me extra money? And he said, 100,000 emergency money, you know, so we understand that. And we're happy. It took 13 years to get the barn done, so it's okay. It's okay. We now have 3 parks that are pretty much, well, one isn't done, but the other 2 are almost finished. And so we have 3 parks, so I can live with that. If it takes another 10 years to get the other 2 done, or 3, it's okay. But just so you know, we are moving forward, and we should have a party area soon. That's some of the area out there have a lot of parties. So anyway, they're looking forward to it.
I believe that Councilmember Freddie Fisickelli is going to address some of the things that I normally report on. So if I could have the opportunity to support him in the conversation, I would appreciate it.
Any of the board members wish to pass along any new or exciting information? Seeing none, that concludes item number 7, board reports. Item number 8, council member comments.
Got any?
Want to go first, Doug?
Sure, I'll go first.
Okay.
Why not? Couple of things. I want to remind some people that way back when we went after some grants for bridges over the canal with DOT and stuff, that we got some approvals, and then we didn't take them up on it, and now we're on a blackball list. So in moving forward with different things or grants like that, we need to be fairly careful, because you can, if the town's not ready and prepared to move forward, whether it be 184th or any other stuff when you're going after grants, and we don't have our ducks in a row, and somebody else takes off on it, and then it comes to a fruition point, you could ruin that opportunity in the future for going after it. So I want everybody to kind of realize that that does happen, and that's in the real world, and you get put on a blackball list. So the 184th idea and project is I think still a dream, because there's no plans for it. We made a resolution up here to only make it a 2-lane road. The county had it on its map as a 4-lane road, and when we made that resolution, we were told and informed that they wouldn't participate in any way with any monies at all. And so if there are other ways and stuff to do, the town needs to be the one leading that fight if we were going to do that. And we have a lot more work to do from where I'm sitting up here than to just go chase after and say, okay, you got the money, because we don't have a plan. I mean, there's an idea, but there's no drawings, engineerings, landscaping, berms, canals, whatever it would take to do that. And I don't know that that's actually, that we're that much in favor of moving forward on that avenue. And let me tell you part of the reason why I say that. If everybody realizes Weston's cut-through roads, if you can include 75, you have Dykes, which in Weston turns into Weston Road, and then you have Bonaventure, and then you have US 27. Those are the only cut-through roads, north and south, that Weston has. Now, if you come over here to our side, south of Griffin Road, you have Volunteer, you have 75, you have Dykes Road, you have 172nd, you have 185th, 186th. You used to have 199th, which has been fixed, and you had a couple other, and then you go on out and you have US 27. So we have almost twice as many cut-through streets in our town on the west side than Weston does. So me personally, sitting up here, I would tell you, if we're looking after a rural lifestyle, you know, I don't think I'm looking for another cut-through street. So I realize there's some hardships on some people of what they were used to in the past on how to get through when we put those gates up and whatnot. But we did traffic studies, we had counts, and in the best interest of our residents, not Pines because it's us, we put those gates up. And I've got to tell you, I had personally, me, at least 10 phone calls from Pembroke Pines residents for thanking them for giving them back their neighborhood. So, you know, that says something. So as far as the prospect of an HOA or civic association chasing grants, you know, I don't think that's a great idea. I think you can pass the information on to us, and we can look at it. Andy can bring it forward if he chooses or sees it's viable. But I don't think we have the plans, drawings, ideas, or any of that anywhere close to move forward in that aspect. So I would request you or any other HOAs not to be chasing those kind of things on their own, because it might ruin it down the road when we do want to go after it or do need it. So I just want to, I don't know if anybody else wants to jump in on this at all, but, so I would say that me personally, right now, if it came to a vote, my vote would be no, not to do that. So I just want that clear and on the record for the moment. The town doesn't have the money. If it was free to do, we're not ready to do it. So, so that's my situation on that avenue. So I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you, Doug. Ready?
Well, I'll pick up where Doug left off. It's no secret, ever since I've been on this council since 2000, I felt that 184 is our only solution to stopping all this traffic. I haven't pushed it that much, but there's a lot of things said that are wrong. One thing, there's only 2 parcels of right-of-way we don't have. One of them is the church on on Sheridan, and right there on where 185th turns to 186, the gentleman that owns that party, that's right on the end of Downey property, we don't have his right-of-way. So there's only 2 right-of-ways. And Doug, I think you're right. We should make sure we have all our ducks in a row, and I don't see why the town is not going out to get those 2 right-of-ways. We should be doing that, whether we put in 184th. If we ever get the chance to do it, we need those right-of-ways. And as far as another statement made tonight, we won't have to change our comp plan because our comp plan recommends a 2-lane road, and that's all they're talking about to do that. And people, if you've been keeping up what's going on, the Terra property has been bought, and those people are moving forward with building it. So a third of that road is going to go in whether you want it there or not. They have to put it in because that's part of their plat. So we'll be facing that, and I think, and I want to say this because I'm not positive, but I think when our engineering looked at our problems, I think they kind of recommended 184th. If I'm wrong, I'll apologize on that, but we may never get it in right now, but I'll guarantee you that road's going in sooner or later. It's got to go in, mainly because it's our salvation for traffic problems, and that's my opinion. I got another, let's see, I got the Fishing Hole Park. We got some good news there, like Mary Gay said. The bathroom, the gentleman told Emily just last week, in 2 weeks he'll be starting. And I understand the fence has been awarded, the contract for the fence has been awarded, so that's moving too. So we're moving along on that. And the last thing, I sat as liaison to the Drainage Committee, and at that meeting, it came up, they had a presentation by our new engineer on what the plans were for in the future. And at that meeting, they had a vote, and Bob wrote me a letter, and I want to ask him to talk a little bit about it, but I would like tonight to do what we have to do to move forward with the resolution he's going to be talking about. Go ahead. Is it all right if Bob talks on that? I could read his letter, but it'd be better if he talks on it.
Can I borrow my letter?
Yeah. I got it. I had it with me, Bob. I won't swear what I did with it. I'm not good at housekeeping, Bob.
I forgot it. I came straight from work.
Yeah, I had it up. I had it here. I was going to, but I'll probably read it myself, but I didn't. Nope, Bob, I may not have brought it with me. I thought I did. Nope, I just said.
Yeah, I wish I had it with me, and maybe you can read it word for word next time, because I definitely worded it in a specific way. It's the considered opinion of the Drainage and Infrastructure first, Bob Hartman, 5441 Southwest 198 Terrace. Chair of the Drainage Committee. It's a considered opinion, and we voted on it, that the Drainage Committee would like to see the TISDOR program, and I can't even remember what the acronym means without my paper in front of me. Transportation something or other. Surface?
Surface.
Road?
And drainage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point is that we have a difference in opinion from King Engineering's proposal. King, the way the report reads, in essence wants to create a highway department or a road department within the town to generate a program that would continuously maintain and repair and resurface our roads. The Drainage Committee, and I think it was also Councilmember Bright-Cruz who envisioned this whole thing, his vision, that this should be a resurfacing program where, I'm going to really oversimplify it, but we start at one end of town, and over the course of some period of time, 10 years, 20 years, whatever it takes, we repave the roads going across town. And again, I'm simplifying it because we'd want to break it up. You found it? Thank you. You're not a bad housekeeper. Just a little messy. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to read it. Dear Councilmember Fisickelli, as you're aware, the Drainage and Infrastructure Advisory Board has assisted in the development of the concept supporting Councilmember Bright-Cruz's vision of a town-wide repaving program and has supported the town engineering department in coalescing these concepts into an actionable plan. Recently, the DIAB has extensively deliberated the, here it is, Transportation, Surface, and Drainage Ongoing Rehabilitation Program and Assessment Study provided by King Engineering Associates Incorporated. Over the progression of several drainage meetings, the board evaluated the KEA, King Engineering, recommendations and interviewed the engineering study author for clarification. It's a consensus of the Drainage Board that King Engineering appears to have interpreted the TISDOR implementation strategy differently than the board's expectations. Two recommendations made by King concern the Drainage Committee in that they suggest that the town develop an organization to maintain, repair, and resurface its existing roadway infrastructure, and that the town maintain and repair its existing infrastructure to extend its life. That piece I just want to be real clear on. They think that we ought to put money into the roads we have out there to extend the life. And maybe in some cases that makes sense. We didn't feel that way. Our roads are getting old. Our roads are at the point where a large portion of our infrastructure, or to use their terms, our inventory, needs to be resurfaced. The Drainage and Infrastructure Advisory Board has reached consensus on a number of recommendations concerning King's approach. The board recommends that the town formulate a program to resurface the roadway system in its entirety over a finite period of time rather than concurrently and extend the life of segments in the existing system. Over the course of time, situations will present requiring limited road repair, and they should be addressed. However, the board advises against programs to institutionalize maintenance that will consume resources otherwise dedicated to resurfacing roads. Finally, the board requests that the council consider the board's recommendations and recommend that the administration request financing options from the finance department to advance the progress on this important initiative. If there are any questions, give me a call. I'm not sure if there are any questions from you all. I can certainly address.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Gary?
Yeah, just a couple of things, Mayor. Thank everybody for coming. Doug, I'm with you on the 184th. We don't have our ducks in a row. We don't have a plan. We've got an idea, and before we commit town funds or anything like that, we need to have more information, and we need to have a better understanding of what's going on here, because there's more than two right-of-ways. There's also the TerraPlat, which has right-of-way problems, and they have invalid site plans. So they basically have no site plan for the town. So there's a lot of work that has to be done yet. The other thing I wanted to mention was Andy and I have been discussing the town policy on the scholarship applications, and we've come up with some ideas, and I wanted Andy to articulate those when it gets to administrator comments, if you guys will indulge that. So, and I'll go concede to you guys.
Thanks, Gary. Steve?
Thank you, Mayor. A few things. First of all, Bob, I appreciate the summary, and Freddie for bringing that up. I think that was well put. I agree 100% with what you're saying. I think we have to keep focused. The focus is to get these roads resurfaced. It's a growing liability. We got to take care of business first. And anything that would be distracting from either the attention or the dollars that are associated with that is going to be detrimental to the whole project. So I appreciate that comment and that report. I did want to direct Andy. I would like to see a report on what's happening there on Mr. Gomez's property. If you can report that out, I suspect all the council would like to see that. But I would like to understand better what's going on there and how that's being handled. On 184, I appreciate very much Doug's comments. I will say that I think he's right on as far as the fact that it needs to be planned out first before we get any money lined up. That's just the way it is. I will also add to it that even before that happens, that frankly, this town needs a consensus on what we're going to do out there. And we don't have that today. And so we are a ways away. And I hesitate to say this, but frankly, I will, because it's pretty upsetting to me that over the last 2 to 3 years, I've been having ongoing conversations with a lot of folks in both the Country Estates side and the Rolling Oaks side trying to get a consensus. And I'm here to tell you that any progress that was made over the last 2 or 3 years is totally gone. There's now walls going up and hard feelings going up, and the whole thing is, and any sort of a consensus that we were headed that direction, I don't get a sense of it at all anymore. And so it's unfortunate, and I know that wasn't the intention of the individuals that were going for the grant, but this is a very sensitive topic, and if we're ever going to make any progress, you know, the first thing we have to do is get together as a town and decide this is, however it's laid out, we're all in this together, and we're going to solve this problem together. And so, you know, so there's a few things that need to be done before the money is lined up. And I do agree with Freddie in that I do think that this road is going to go in someday as this area continues to grow and becomes more populated. You know, whether we like it or not, that road is probably going to go in someday. So it behooves this town to get together and do this the right way. And the right way is exactly what Doug is saying, what Gary is saying, is that we've got to plan this thing out first. We've got to get together, make the plan, and then move forward with it. But to move forward without a plan is it's not going to be successful, and it's not going to end up. All right, enough serious stuff. We've got a chili cook-off coming up here. We've got a chili cook-off coming up here, and I hear through the grapevine that we have a vice mayor who happens to be in the restaurant business that is entering into this chili cook-off. So it looks to me like the gauntlet has been set, okay? So I, for one, paid my $50 today, and I'm taking on the vice mayor. I'm taking on the vice mayor. And looking forward to it, looking forward to it.
Good luck.
Good stuff. Sounds like we got to start of something here.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting, that's for sure. I see Bob Bush is here, and I don't know if you know this or not, but Bob recently resigned from the Drainage and Infrastructure Advisory Board and has nothing to do other than, quite frankly, concerned about sunshine violations. We talked about this before, And he feels like he can be much more effective by not being a member of that board because his concern is violating, this sunshine. And I respect that. And I told Bob that he's one of the most honest people that you ever want to meet. And that was an issue and a problem for him. But, Bob, we recognize the great work you do here in the town of Southwest Ranches, and absolutely encourage you to continue to do the things that you're doing. Tremendous amount of knowledge. Listen, I remember, other issues, and it's not always about drainage and infrastructure. It's about coming from your heart and your belief about the town of Southwest Ranches and what you sincerely believe is the right thing for this town, even when you had a bunch of people that oppose to what you were saying or disagree with you. So I hope that you'll, and you will, and we had talked about this earlier, but just, and you promised, you gave me a commitment that you'll continue to be involved, and I know that you'll continue to be involved. It's just very, very difficult with this sunshine nonsense, especially in the context of advisory board. I'm not saying the sunshine law is nonsense. What I'm saying is in the context of how it stifles your ability to have conversations outside of that environment, makes it very, very difficult to accomplish a lot of things. So I certainly respect your decision and your opinion, and look forward to working with you in the future. And thank you for your service to the board, Bob, very much. And going on from Doug and Gary and Steve, and even, from a historical perspective, Doug, we were talking about opening the roads and et cetera, and access. You remember, it wasn't that long ago, just a few years ago, that we had a gate at 109th and Sterling, if I recall, so there wasn't any cut-through traffic. There weren't any issues out there, there weren't any problems out there. Southwest, our people were happy, the City of Pembroke Pines people were happy, and then all of a sudden that gate went down. It just disappeared, and then we started with the cuts-through traffic. And I'll tell you, and I know that you said that you had 10 people call you, Doug. I had more than 10 people call me when that happened that wanted to de-annex from the City of Pembroke Pines because they were so upset. They had an opportunity to go in their front yard, the kids could play, they had basketball hoops, and it went from peace and tranquility to just craziness out there. You took your life in your own hand when you walked anywhere within close proximity of the front yard. So there was a mechanism, there was a situation in place where there wasn't any traffic on 199th until that one day. And then, of course, historically we could go through for hours talking about what transpired and what resulted in us making the decision that we did with regards to those roads. We tried to get them to put the fence back up to protect both sides. They didn't do that, so then we went through their local agreement, and unfortunately that didn't work, so finally we said, the heck with it. They want to protect our residents, or their residents, we want to protect ours, and that was the consensus at that time. And it wasn't that long ago we had a discussion about 184th, just a couple of months. I remember a lot of people coming to this council meeting, raising Cain, that there was even a thought. We thought that this was dead at this time. 184th was not on the table, and that was maybe 2, 3, 4 months ago when it was brought up, and there was some additional conversation about the potential that that was something that this council was contemplating. And I thought we put it to rest at that particular time 3 months ago, that it was over with at the time. There wasn't a consensus, and you're absolutely right, Steve and Gary. There wasn't even remotely close to a consensus. And, it might be right whether it's 5, 10, 20, 30 years from now, 184th, there might be the potential for that to happen. And if you were to make a prediction, I suspect that that might absolutely happen. But with regard to present day and the environment that exists now, I just don't get the impression that that's something that anybody's interested in out there. So, and the other thing that I think that's important, that when projects are assessed and evaluated and being contemplated, that the members of your administration, Andy, that they have are the ones that making the contact, the ones that are promoting the project, the ones that are carrying out the direction from this council. I don't ever want to hear, and I don't think this council ever wants to hear, that somebody individually or whatever is out there promoting a project on behalf of the town of Southwest Ranches. And it's not that we want to stifle anybody. That's what this town is all about. It's all about volunteers and empowering our residents to help, to make contributions in these advisory boards. Thank goodness we have access to you, because you just always seem to come up with a solution with any problem that you're presented with. But I'm on board with you all with regards to, right now, it's put this to rest with regards to the Tiger Grant, understanding the potential funding mechanism behind that. There's many other projects, as far as I'm concerned, that have a much higher priority, and the one we just talked about, the road resurfacing project in Tisdor, and I'm not sure where that's going with. We are starting to put together a mechanism to potentially fund it, that we're going to, I know, talk about and come up with a plan. But from my perspective, with regards to 184th, I thought that we put that to rest several months ago, when we had a lot of people here saying that it's not time for that to be discussed or contemplated, and there's other more important issues that need to be addressed within the town. And Mr. Gomez, we will take a look at that, I promise you. This is the first time that I am aware of it. And if somebody's doing something wrong, one of the things that we're very proactive on is dumping and fill. Vince has a tendency sometimes to get excited and emotional on some topics. He's very passionate with regards to this area. And we agree sometimes and we disagree, but I will promise you that we will come out there and take a look at it. I promise you that it's in good hands. Code enforcement and Robert and Andy and those that are involved in this process, I promise you, are fair, and we'll do an assessment. I don't know what's happened previously, but I promise you we'll look into it, and we will get back to you with regards to an answer. And I'm sure that Andy's probably well into that process right now. I think that's all that I have. And Freddie?
Yeah, I like to, because I think people are putting words in my mouth. I am not saying that I'm pushing to do 184. I did that a long time ago, and I haven't changed. I do think it's something that has to be done. But what I'm saying, and you all said it too, it's going to go in. So we do need to look at what we're going to do in the future with it. We can't keep pushing it under there, because we got a letter from the Corps of Engineers. There's a company now that's going to put in a third of that road. And we don't want to happen what Doug said before. They're going to come to us and say, what is your plan? And we can't tell them we don't have those plans. It's time we start looking at, if this road's going to go in, what would we do if this road's going to go in? I'm not supporting the grant whatsoever. I told Jim that personally, that I don't think this is the time. But I do think this is the time for us to look at what's going to happen in the future with that road. And that's all I'm saying.
Okay, but it's obviously unanimous that we're not interested in that Tiger Grant right now. I just want to make that clear for the record, and everybody's saying that no Tiger Grant. And Jim, we appreciate your efforts and all the information that you provided to the town. Okay, that concludes item number 8. Item number 9, legal comments.
Yeah, Mayor, I'll be quick. Many of you know I just returned back from Tallahassee. Was a very long day up there. Very hopeful that we'll have tremendously good news to report to the town. I'm going to wait and see how the budget shakes out. Next week's Holy Week. Then they go back and finalize the budget, and then session's over. 2 big bills that our lobby has helped really kill for the town that most people didn't even know. The septic legislation came up again this year with all new caveats to it, including requirements of connectivity and other environmental things. We were successful in not pushing that one forward, so that protected the town. The big one in Tallahassee that the town has nothing to do with, but we're monitoring, is the gun legislation that Weston and Sunrise is pushing, and we'll report back to let you know what eventually happens with that. Litigation this month has been plentiful. Most of it this month was covered by New Testament Church. I sent everyone a letter again so that everyone could see it. They're claiming, I think it's $10 or $11 million that the town owes them as a result of the comp plan revisions dealing with community facilities. So that is definitely, you'll see later on, an unexpected expense that the legal department had to incur. But obviously, we're vigorously defending that and upholding our comp plan. Other than that, that was it.
Thank you, Keith. They say you always save the best for last, Andy.
Well, thank you, Mayor.
And
I'll-
item
I'll-
number 10, administration comments.
Got a few things to go through with you, but I'll start off on a light note because I heard Councilmember Bright Cruz throw down the gauntlet before. And since we have the chili cook-off coming up, I will be out of town that day. I will not be there. However, I will personally fund the first ever Council Cup Championship.
Andy,
I don't know who else wants to get in on that action.
I just, and legal's not getting in that action, but I just want to chime in. I went to the Astronaut Parks Foundation meeting the other night, and they told me that for anyone who can't cook, Hormel makes very good chili that you can serve. So,
That doesn't sound like a cup winner. Now I have to find the appropriate judges to report back to me. Yeah, the cup is the easy part. All right, just a few things. Tomorrow at 1 o'clock over in Sunrise, the cities in the litigation with the county on the Resource Recovery Board are meeting at 1. They've had some smaller working groups with some of the mayors and some of the staff that needed meeting with a smaller group from the county. I have, at this point, no report on that progress, but that's what's scheduled for tomorrow at 1 o'clock. So certainly, Mayor, or if another member of council is available to join me for that, certainly only one of you could attend that meeting, but I will be there at 1. There won't be a settlement, certainly, but there may be information to bring back and share with you and present to you, so we'll certainly be looking to do that. So that's tomorrow at 1 o'clock. I do want to touch on Tisdorf.
And I'll
Yeah.
just follow up with that, Andy,
Yeah.
because it looks like you're looking for confirmation. If it's all right with the council, I don't, I've been to one, I know Doug was to one, but I don't have any problems attending. Now, at a school of 4,400 kids, things happen, unfortunately, in the course of the day. But if I have your consensus, I certainly like to participate and be involved in that discussion if you all agree to me being the representative.
I'll go
That'd be
through
great.
it.
Is that okay?
It can only, because it's not, there'd be a
Okay,
sunshine
fine.
issue, it hasn't been noticed properly, so.
Absolutely, Mayor, go ahead.
Thank you.
I got
Thank you.
something to do.
Otherwise, I'd be happy to have you. I do want to touch on Tisdor, and it's been certainly a great deal of discussion tonight. My comments now have nothing to do with the interpretation of the King report or what will shake out with that over the next couple of days. However, you as a council have all expressed interest in putting that on the ballot in November and allowing the residents to weigh in. And so in order to do that, I would need to bring you a resolution for the supervisor of elections so that we could be on the ballot in November. So what I'm asking for tonight is just consensus from you to bring it forward for what I would suggest would be kind of a non-binding referendum. We'll ask our residents how they would prefer to pay for that. Would they prefer, for example, an assessment or an increase in ad valorem taxes to pay for that? I certainly can't answer those questions at this point as far as dollar amount and everything else. All that information will certainly be worked through in advance of that, but we have a June deadline with the Supervisor of Elections Office if we want to be on the ballot in November. So the only thing I'm asking you really for tonight is you're okay in bringing that forward as a ballot initiative. We've got plenty of time to shake out the language and certainly the backup information that would go along with that to answer the questions.
I make a motion that we proceed.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, I think that, do we need, Keith, do we need official,
Just a consent, I think just a
we need
consent.
official act, just a consensus?
I mean, in the past, the town's always done referendums, even straw ballot referendums by an ordinance, to give ample opportunity to notice it and for the public to be heard. if that's what you desire, again, we would do first reading in May, second reading in May, and get it done, if that's what the council desires. We just have to pre-advertise.
Russell and I conferred on this week. The supervisor's office, I recognize that we've traditionally done it by ordinance. It can be done by resolution, which would require one vote of this board. The supervisor's office really just wants to show that the council took official action in support of this item, so it can be done by resolution. We certainly have time to do it, but I don't want to run up against any deadlines. Obviously, there's far more questions than there are answers at this point, and we'll work on that information, but we do want to work towards getting it on the ballot in the fall.
And I think that it's unanimous, just a mechanism moving forward, whether it be a resolution or ordinance.
Yeah,
Mayor?
Steve?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I think that if we have the time to do it by ordinance, we should do it by ordinance. That gives two opportunities for the residents to come in and weigh in on it. Whereas, a lot of times, the first time we read it is when people really start to hear about it, and the second time is when we get the real input. So if we've got the time for that, I certainly would prefer to do the ordinance.
Russell and I will get cracking on that.
Well, Gary, you have any issues? Ordinance, okay with you, Freddie? Doug? Fine, okay.
Okay. The next item I wanted to bring up was the School Education Advisory Board. If you remember, last year was the first year that the advisory board was able to give out scholarships, and they had a very good year, and they gave out 8 scholarships of $500. And certainly to avoid, from our standpoint, any appearance of any impropriety in any way, shape, or form, we adopted a rule, which was that council members and their immediate families, board members, and it was all advisory boards and their immediate families, staff and their immediate families would be ineligible to receive those scholarships. We've had inquiry from a resident, I guess in the last week, who suggested that because we are a small town, that there are people who we depend on who serve on our advisory boards who are very committed to serving this town, that their kids learn that sense of commitment and volunteering from them, and that those kids of other advisory boards potentially should be eligible and not be disallowed or ineligible from receiving a scholarship. So what I was certainly going to suggest to you from a discussion standpoint is council can leave that policy exactly as it is, where everybody is ineligible. You can change that policy as requested, or you could perhaps institute a policy of advisory board members, families would be ineligible from anything given by that particular advisory board, but that other advisory boards families may be eligible, recognizing we leave the prohibition in place for council members and their families and staff and their families as well. And I just want to kind of throw that out for discussion for you.
Andy, I just want to throw something in from a legal standpoint, because I sent an email on this. As long as that particular advisory board is not voting on something that would inure to one of their children, I have no issues with anything. But if the school advisory board has children within that school advisory board that are being applying, they can't then vote on who the scholarship goes to. That's when it becomes a legal issue. So I just want to make it clear from that standpoint.
I got a question.
Steve, and then I'll go to you, Freddie.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I do think that, in our town, we are all about volunteering, and a lot of times that's a family honored tradition, to be honest with you, that parents that volunteer and are involved in the community raise kids that are also volunteers and are involved in the community. So I do understand exactly what the concern is here, and I think we need to find a way around it, because I think those families have just as much right to teach their kids, to volunteer and to be a part of the community as anyone else. The recommendation I would have is that for situations like this, I think a separate selection committee maybe should be brought together that does not have kids that are of that age that would be in a position to benefit. And they could make an unbiased decision so that all the board members and their families could in fact participate and be part of it, because now they're not part of the selection committee, and I assume that would be...
Yeah, as long as those selection committee members were not part of that board, it's not a problem.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that's the final best solution, but I think it might be one that's a compromise in the middle that maybe is an idea worth considering.
is, I'm not really familiar with the whole
your mic.
setup.
Yeah.
I'm not really familiar with the whole setup, but is it dependent like on an essay they write or something like that? Is that,
I'm not 100% sure of the criteria. Gay, you familiar with the criteria with regards to how the scholarships are
Mayor,
are awarded?
if I may?
Yeah, absolutely. Andy, you have the information.
They are not academic or need-based. So it's really just for residents who can apply. They do have to prepare an essay. They also need to dedicate 20 community service hours to the town or their HOAs within that year. So it's not needs-based. It's not grades-based. It's really just if they're a resident and they have the ability to apply for it, write an essay and donate community service hours to the town.
well, my suggestion would be have somebody that's not, has anything to do with our town judge those essays. Like you could go to a school.
Yeah, they were talking about teachers, possibly getting some
Yeah.
teachers together to sit on the board to decide who the kids are. The only thing I heard was...
I think Steve was referring to creating a separate board, not somebody else sit on an additional board. I
No,
think it
no,
was
no.
more,
It would be a selection committee, and you could just ask some teachers to be the selection committee.
Yeah, somebody
They
not
have
have
nothing to
do
do
with
with
the town.
anything. Yeah.
If I could chime in there, and I know you chair that, Doug, and I attend a lot of the meetings and all that. I'm fairly comfortable like excluding the members of that committee. I don't know how to make it any, Steve's suggestion on, of a blind panel, that has merit. I hadn't really thought about that. We have a finite amount of volunteers. And that's one of the situations we have is all the kids volunteer with the parents, and it goes on. But I think we shouldn't be penalizing other kids whose parents are not on those boards.
on that board, yeah.
Yeah,
Keith
I would
looks
say
like
that would
he's
be a
got-
good first step.
No, I
Or
mean,
second step. We
just
already
for
made
the
it.
record, the mayor said, as the assistant principal at Cypress Bay, he's happy to review and rank all of them himself.
Actually, it was just the opposite. I threw myself out of that because of obvious reasons, and Keith volunteered, so I want to make that perfectly clear for the record.
Well, I'm on with Gary, if I may jump in, Mayor. I'm on with more like Gary's comment. If you're not, if you're on a different board and different stuff, and it's not related to that board for these, for the scholarship stuff, I don't really have an issue with it. But I would say if they sit on that board, the Education Advisory Board, that we would have to exclude them. But any other board would be okay because you're not voting on your own kid.
Well, but is that true? Like if I'm on the drainage board, but I have a child that's eligible for this scholarship, even though the scholarship is given by the education board, if I'm now on the selection committee and giving my child,
Oh, no, you
a
couldn't be on the
scholarship,
selection committee to do that.
my thought is let's just get 4 or 5 people that for whatever reason don't have kids in the town. There's plenty of them here, and let them make give them the criteria and let them make the choice, and it's unbiased and nobody has a chance. The other side of this, from my point of view, is I don't want to put those parents in a bad position where other people might cast aspersions against them. Oh, well, they only got it because they're your child. No, they got it because they deserved it.
And they met the qualifications.
And so it gets those parents out of that bad position as well.
Listen, I'm the chairperson on that committee, so, not the chairperson, but the council member advisory person related to that committee. And they've been going around and back and forth with it. So, you hate to penalize one of our residents who do volunteer and do contribute, and as Steve, as you mentioned, it's kind of passing down and showing them, and they participate, and they're more involved and whatnot. So you don't really want to discourage them from being on the board because, they're like, you're penalizing them. So as long as they're not voting and they're removed from making any decision on who it is and who the applicants, then depending on how the board we put together, I'm in favor of doing something like that. I guess it's just how we do it, to make sure that it's clean, nobody can, say favoritism or something like that. So you want to, as long as we have a open book and a clear channel on how we're getting it done, so it doesn't put a black cloud on us, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, let me jump in. We're clearly dealing with things, you know, we're progressing in how we do this, but I don't think we have enough time this year because the applications are already gone out and all of that's going on, and I want to do this on the fly. I'd rather think about it more with a separate board. Plus, I don't think we could put together a board quick enough that we would all approve of without beating it to death, and it wouldn't come to fruition in the correct amount of time. I think if we massage the policy at this point and just excluded the one board and let them judge it, and then work towards the next cycle of the scholarships with maybe a blind board that where it will be eligible for everybody, or something like that.
We're doing this, not we're doing this now, but the Rotary Club in Weston, in fact, they just raised, there's over $100,000 this year for scholarship money for students at Cypress Bay and at Western High School. And I think Sagemont now is involved in that process. But what they do is they promote the scholarship money that it's available, and what they do is they fill out applications, and then this committee makes arrangements to interview all the potential recipients, and then based upon that interview, they come up with recommendations, and then they award the scholarships at a luncheon. I mean, that's a little bit different than what we're being asked to assess, you know, with regards to putting together a mechanism to select these kids. But you know, $100,000 is a lot different than a few $1,000s. So, but you know, we're going through that now. In fact, they're coming over to the school not next week, but the week after, and we've got 29 kids that have applied for these this scholarship money, and they take the time. They're in there with them 15, 20 minutes. You know, they have criteria established as part of the interview process, and they rank them, and it can be $5,000, it can be $250. You know, it just depends on what they applied for, what their financial status is. You know, their ability to pay, their interest. I mean, it's just an array of things that they assess and they evaluate. So,
You know, we have this other guy down here on the end, his name's Andy Byrne. We can just throw it in his lap.
and that's fine. That's fine. And,
I don't think
listen,
it's
we're
that
looking for input. I know, okay,
complicated.
you got up there.
I don't think it's that complicated, really. I think you could get 5 teachers, you can go anywhere you want for them. You know, we have retired teachers here. If you got 5 teachers and you said to the teachers, because this isn't scholastic, the kid has to be going to college. It isn't like you're going to hand him the money and he's going to go party somewhere. You're telling him he's going to spend it on his education. And I think all of them should be eligible because all these kids that qualify, whether or not their parents sit on that board or they sit on another board, they qualify. And as long as they're not being picked by that board, where's the problem? You let the board not, I don't want to call them a board because you make change and they're only serving for that particular moment in time. They're going to decide what kid did the most or whatever, and they can decide. I mean, they're teachers, and they should be able to figure it out and let them go from there. And then when you make the awards, I would suggest that the council give with the board sitting there, make the presentations, and then have maybe either something before the presentations or something after it, and do it during a council meeting. It's important to these kids. They've donated their time. They got nothing other than thank you very much, and now we're recognizing them for their effort. And I think we need to make a bigger deal out of it than just here, you know. Thank you.
Andy, I know you can find 5 teachers or in the town that would sit on this board, and I'm sure that we would provide space for them to conduct these interviews and come up with, a mechanism to distribute the scholarship money without concerns about, some of those innuendos that were thrown out there.
Well, if that's the task, then we'll get it done. I will say I was partial to Vice Mayor's suggestion of a fix this year because of the time
That's fine.
constraints. And then we establish a review policy, a review board to award those scholarships. Because those scholarships, those applications are coming in now. It's crunch time.
Right, and I understand that. I just hate to penalize those families of that board this year. I'm not comfortable with that, So I think this is something that, I'm not volunteering my wife, but I can tell you, she's like the perfect example of, all my kids are college and beyond, and she's a college professor, and, but I'm sure there's.
I need
I'm sure there's,
four other volunteers besides Denise.
did I not preface this by saying I'm not volunteering my wife? But
Nice try.
but-
Does she cook chili?
The mayor's wife was real qualified, too.
You ain't throwing me into that mix, and I'll be accused of all kinds of things.
But I do think that's a great. I do think they had a great recommendation of 5 teachers that are
Nelson's
familiar
putting
with the
together a
process.
committee to, corner
Yeah,
the
but
market
you have
on
time.
scholarship.
We will
I can
start
see
on this
that coming,
tomorrow. Okay. Okay, I will start on this tomorrow. We'll find a committee. I
Okay,
do have a
we'll come
couple
up with
other things. Very quickly, certainly nothing that warrants discussion after this. One is, Mr. Gomez, I did hear the issue, and staff will certainly look into this. I don't want you to feel that will be forgotten, okay?
Andy, one other comment along that
Yeah.
line, and Keith mentioned, I think it's a very good point, is that 5 may be a little. 3 to 5 is probably a reasonable. Not that it has to be 5. If we can.
Just got 40% easy.
My wife's not available.
Did you text her and ask her already?
Not a problem.
Not this time, usually, but not this time.
Just 2 reminders, and I'm done.
There you go.
Just 2 quick reminders, Mayor, and I'm done. Saturday, we have our household hazardous waste collection over in Rolling Oaks Park, and we're adding a new benefit to our residents. We're going to have shredding on site, so people can bring out, if you've got documents that you want to have shredded, you'll be able to bring out up to 4 boxes and have those shredded. They'll be there, I think, from 10 to 4, but the household hazardous waste is from 8 to 2. So that's on Saturday. And Vice Mayor, I had one for Sunday, but if you'd like to,
Yeah, I want to
Thank
have
you.
dinner tonight. I forgot to mention the Aegon in Rolling Oaks. It'll be this Sunday, the 13th. It has a brunch with it, and the Civic Association's putting it on. It's for kids of all ages, and they have them in different groups, and there's over 3,000 eggs. So it's a lot of eggs. They're going to be out there, and it starts at 11 at Rolling Oaks Park on Sunday, and we'd like everybody to attend. Thank you.
Andy, is that it? Okay, the final item, the budget discussion for 2000 and, I'm just kidding. That concludes all the items on this agenda. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a
to
motion,
adjourn.
and I'm sure it's unanimous. This meeting is hereby adjourned. Thank you all very much.